the problem is solved by sending soldiers. Where have you ever seen soldiers solving a problem? Soldiers don't solve a problem. The leadership must meet and discuss and come up with a binding decision. That's why we say we need one legislature, one military, one currency, one president, so that we know when we go into Mozambique, it's not an interference, it's us providing a solution to our own problems. What peace did NATO take to Libya? Look at what you did to Libya to date. Because you're going after one man, you destroy the whole country. So if it brought peace in Norway, it has not brought peace in Africa. And our experience with NATO is not what you have experienced. And therefore, we respectfully disagree with that. We need to strengthen AU, give it more teeth to bite. The decisions of the AU must be taken and they must be firmly implemented by countries of Africa if we are going to say this is a serious continental body. You know, this thing of territorial threats, we know them here. We've got an army base here in Botswana. What is America doing here in Botswana? Why is Africa not in American borders? What do you call that? And you come and say imperialism and colonialism is finished. When people expand their territorial expansion through putting military bases at our borders. There's a military base here. A study has been conducted that a fighter jet that moves from that army base to the Union building will not take less than 2 minutes to bomb the Union building. If a war is declared with America, America does not have to assemble any resource from Washington or anywhere else to come here. They are already here. What do you call that? It's democracy. It's free wealth. We must celebrate that and say, no, imperialism is no longer there. It's in our head. We understand what Putin is fighting against because we have it here. Here. What is it doing here? We never went to Asia. We never went to Europe. We never went to America. We are here. We don't establish bases anywhere. Why should you establish bases in military bases in our continent? And when we speak, it's called old-fashioned politics. That they are out of fashion. There's no such a thing as imperialism. When imperialism is breathing on our neck, yeah, we're not going to allow that. We are going to expose that American military base here all the time in the platforms we get and educate our people that this is exactly what Putin is fighting against. America will not allow that. That Russia must go and establish a military base in Cuba with missiles facing the USA. They won't allow that. So we must not be allowed, we must not be asked to accept the things that you will not accept if they were to happen in your countries. And that's what we're talking about when we speak about NATO and peace not going together. The same thing with the European Union. Don't say, what are we going to ask from you? That's a big brother mentality. What are you going to ask from us? Yes, don't say, why should it be us who are asking? We're not asking for anything. We're fine. So let's relate as equals, not as a beggar and the big brother supplier. No, we will relate with the European Union. It's a necessary body. We'll relate with it, we'll respect it, and the respect must be mutual, and will engage on what is in the interest of our countries, not what is in the interest of the European Union. We're in a mess now. We've decommissioned our power stations because countries like the USA like the UK have said to us, no, do away with these things. We are going to introduce green energy. Here's the money and all of that. People took the money. There is no electricity today. So we ought to relate as equals so that no one imposes their ideas on us. We are people that subscribe to superior logic. Anything that is scientific, anything that has been proven, anything that makes sense, we'll agree with it. It doesn't matter whether it comes from European Union or it comes from BRICS or it comes from China or Russia. No, we will not agree with anything that seeks to belittle us and make us look like we are beggars in this kind of a relationship. So that's the same with AGOA. You can't use AGOA to threaten us in terms of our sovereignty and our foreign policy. That if you are going to bring Putin here and not defy, will do away with AGOA. You can do away with AGOA. We remain with our sovereignty. Should you strip us of our dignity because we are desperately looking for AGOA? That our foreign policy is now determined somewhere else. Which nation can be proud of that? That our foreign policy is determined somewhere because we are beneficiaries of AGOA. It can't be correct. Let's trade and have those benefits of AGOA out of mutual understanding and respect for each other's sovereignty and foreign policy. Not that today, because we don't agree on Putin, you must withdraw the whole thing. That is puppeting, that is belittling, that is making us look like we are beggars. But let's remain with our dignity. Let's be beggars with dignity, not stripped of dignity and thinking that you are what you are not. You can't even make your own foreign policy determinations because AGOA will be taken away. We are spreading the wings of the EFF. We have EFF in Liberia, we have EFF in Lesotho, we have EFF in Namibia, we have EFF in Zimbabwe. We're a young organization in terms of age, but already we're finding an expression in other African countries because we're trying to take this spirit into other African countries. We need to strengthen AU, give it more teeth to bite. The decisions of the AU must be taken and they must be firmly implemented by countries of Africa if we are going to say this is a serious continental. The crossing of Africans into Europe and other countries is exactly based on what I said, the mismanagement of our countries. Because we're not poor. We should be providing solutions. We're a typical example of how resourced we are. That's why you see other nations have left their countries to come and colonize us. We never went to colonize anyone. They came looking for our resources. So if people can leave their countries to come and colonize us here, it should be an evidence enough that we are resourced enough, and therefore we should use that resource for the benefit of Africans and not the other way around. There is a reluctance because to create a formidable thing like an African government, because everybody benefits from these little cocoons. You are called a president of Swaziland, prime minister or something. But your country is not bigger than Soweto. What is that? Then it means Soweto must be a country also. So, but because they benefit from that, they don't even want to engage in this discussion. Because it's an individuals who benefit from it. That's why there's no concrete plan to go into it, and there's no a single president that leads this discussion and put it firmly on the agenda of the AU. That the original thought of the AU as OAU, it was to establish, the founding fathers wanted to establish a solid government And they got defeated in that discussion. But the intention has always been to create a solid government from its inception, that we should come together and be one. And something came out of it, and it never went back to what it was supposed to be, a government, a united government of Africa. And that's what we'll advocate for ourselves as the EFF. Africa Free Trade is a movement in the right direction. But the first thing we need to do, which the AU must firmly resolve, is to do away with the visa for Africans. There should not be a visa for Africans. The same way the Europeans have one visa, they travel everywhere, they are one thing. What they have, they don't want us to have it. There shouldn't be a visa in Africa. Free movement of people should be allowed. And there's no one who's going to leave Nigeria to come and settle here. It's not true, that thing. It's a myth. I mean, I come from a province called Limpopo. We don't need visa to go to Johannesburg. But people are still there in Limpopo. They've not left Limpopo to Johannesburg. So doing away with visa doesn't mean automatically people are going to leave their homes to where the economy is prospering. It's not true. Johannesburg, Gauteng is doing much better than Limpopo. But the people are not leaving Limpopo to Gauteng. So why would people leave Lagos to here? For what? It's their home. They will come here, look for what they are looking for, and take it back where they come from. We'll go to Lagos to do the same and come back home. We have a problem here of unemployment of South Africans who are told by the previous apartheid mentality and colonialism, brainwashed, that South Africa is superior, is better. They've got the best qualifications. They never go out of the country to go and look for jobs in other countries. Why? Why? Why are they not going all out of Africa? We have nurses, we've got, now we're told doctors, we now have teachers, we have this. Africa is in need of that skill. You going to work anywhere in Africa, in Ghana, it doesn't mean you left your home. It's the same as me leaving Limpopo to come here. When the time permits, I go back home. So what is the problem? Let's go. They need to go. The continent, it's our home. We must all go there and become one thing. Once we do away with the visa, we are going to know each other. The reason why we are scared is because we don't know each other. We know each other through the lenses of our enemies. We don't know each other. So we must first know each other if we're going to build the government of Africa. So it's important that we engage in this thing. Free movement of people and goods, it will help us appreciate the existence of each other and bring us more closer for the unity of this continent. Well, African Union is it's a meeting of friends who don't even call each other to order. They can meet with a dictator who has just, killed his own people and then meet for the whole week and not even mention it. So we can't allow the African Union to continue to work the way it is working. We are talking here about SADC. We have a problem here in Zimbabwe. These members of SADC don't call the government of Zimbabwe to order because it's a group of brothers. That government is violating people there. It has just passed a law of gatherings and speeches and all of that. If they don't like you, you're having a political rally, they just send soldiers, they shoot at you and all of. No one in SADC has raised his voice to say, but what is this? So we cannot have these regional bodies and the continental body, including Pan-African Parliament, by the way, which are not biting on countries that are engaged in wrong activities. What is wrong with President Ramaphosa calling President Mnangagwa to order? It will be coming from a good place. They are all brothers. They are all Africans. They all speak, we assume, for the interest of Africans. So we can't have a situation where we've got regional bodies, continental bodies that become a meeting of elite without concrete solutions to the problems confronting the people of Africa. We have a problem in Mozambique. The problem is solved by sending soldiers. Where have you ever seen soldiers solving a problem? Soldiers don't solve a problem. The leadership must meet and discuss and come up with a binding decision. That's why we say we need one legislature, one military, one currency, one president, so that we know when we go into Mozambique, it's not an interference, it's us providing a solution to our own problems. So we are not happy with how these things are structured. Look, economic integration, trading partners, developmental concepts, we embrace all of that, but it doesn't mean we're ideologically naive. We're not ideologically naive, we're political. And therefore, if we were to trade with the USA or to trade with the UK, we trade from a perspective of knowing that we don't share the same ideologies. When you approach them, you know these ones are brutal. I must not sleep on the job. They are not friends. We are not born alone. We are born with people. That's what friends are for. And to have friends that are aligned with you ideologically is nothing wrong. It's not an old-fashioned thing. It's actually apolitical to want to approach politics without ideological orientation. From which ground do you move from? What informs your perspective as a person who is a political animal? It's important always to have our sharing ideological perspective with China. It doesn't mean you can't get a foreign direct investment from Norway or from UK or from Germany. No. You always relate with all countries. Foreign direct investment is more than welcome, but on our terms. Not on Germany's terms. No. We have been giving Germany a lot of money here in South Africa for assembling cars. Not for building cars, for assembling cars. Why is Germany not building those cars here? And create jobs here? In South Africa, we have a problem of unemployment here. Germany will not have a problem. It needs leadership that is decisive, that is going to say, look, we're going to meet you halfway, but you have to meet us halfway. Assembling is not enough. Let's start it here and build it here. So, and Germany's investment under the EFF government is not threatened at all. The same as any other investment. But we are going to renegotiate the deals. And they must be to the interest of Africans. Botswana did it now, where the BS just wanted to change a diamond deal, and all of Botswana said it's not going to happen. You are going to trade here and do diamond here on our terms. Botswana screamed, the BS screamed, kicked, did all manner of things. If this thing is not signed by when we leave, they said you can go. But yeah, we are going to sign the deal on our terms. The BS went back and signed. So that's leadership. Investors want to know what is your position on this matter, so that they can navigate around it and see if they can still make profit out of it. They are not interested in you or in anything. They're interested in politics. That's why they mine blood diamond. They know people are being killed there. This diamond comes from where people are being killed. They still take it. Why do they want to behave like a holy cows and want to punish people for political ideas, yet they don't punish people who are killing each other for diamonds? They go there and still buy blood diamonds. So be clear, then they will come and invest. Even on the land question, we've got special development zones economic zones here in South Africa, where multinational companies have invested a lot of money on the land they don't own. It's owned by the state. Special industrial zones, special economic zones in South Africa where multinational companies have put billions of rands. They don't own that land. So what is the obsession with the ownership of the land? Why do you say when people own, when you state own the land, the multinational companies want to invest because there is no guarantee? No, you give them the guarantee that from this period to this period, this is yours, these are the benefits, these are the incentives, this is what is going to happen. Please invest here. They will invest. They have done it now under this government. Why do you say when people don't own the land, there won't be investment? There is a huge development that happened right in front of us. You said, one of you said, was here for 9 years. I think he's a dean of diplomatic corps. There's a huge development here in Midrand where there is Mall of Africa. That land, that big development you see there, that land is owned by an Indian family. When you buy property there are no transfer costs. No one owns. They are on a lease of 100 years, those people. Yet they still buy there. Black, white, Indians, everyone buys in a place where they don't own the land. A land is owned by an individual family. There's a huge mall invested there in the land they don't own. People are not looking for those things of ownership of the land. They just want a land tenure guarantee that from this period to this period, this is yours. They calculate, they say we'll make a profit, then that's fine. Let's go. That's how business works. Who said people fall in love with land? There's no one who falls in love with land. No one falls in love with diamond or gold. They fall in love with money. Anything that can give them money, they will go and invest in it. Socialism didn't work in Germany, and you are going to tell us how it failed. But go and also learn from China how socialism works, and it has succeeded in China. It doesn't mean if it has failed in Germany, it will fail everywhere else. We're not Germans, we're South Africans. In China, they've got socialism with Chinese characteristics. What stops South Africans from having socialism with South African characteristics? Learning from Germany, what worked, what did not work. Take the good things, leave the bad things. Why capitalism always resort to Chinese principles, to socialist principles, every time they get into trouble? When the banks failed in 2008 and put the world into a financial crisis, it was socialist principles that took the world out of that crisis through state intervention. Where was capital at that time? If we go now, we're in Pretoria now. Let's go to commercial crimes or go to liquidation or high court and all of that. Every day without fail, there are private companies that are being liquidated there. Who said if it's capitalist owned or private owned, it's inherently successful? Who said that? So it's an ideological debate we can have. We know what happened in Eastern Germany. We know what happened in the Soviet Union. We know what's happening in China. We know what's happening in Cuba. So we can have a deeper discussion about whether this is really a way out. We sometimes get fixated on concepts, but in reality, you do the things that you say you don't want to do. Every time capital gets into problems, the state must intervene. Every time. That's when you now see the importance of socialist principles. Coalitions in South Africa will work. This thing is a new thing to us. We don't know it. And we're learning on the job. We're learning on the job. So please be patient with us. We have succeeded so far. No municipality has actually completely collapsed to a point of having to be resuscitated by an upper government under coalition. So it's a new thing. We're learning on the job and we'll get it right. The problem is not coalitions. The problem is the ANC and the DA. They are so used to power. And when they now get out of power into a coalition, they still want to behave like they are in power. Coalition means power sharing. You must let go. Don't behave like you still have power when you don't have power. You must share. And who will make the best a coalition partner, because we have never been in power, so we don't know power. Maybe the first power we're going to experience is through coalition, and it will be the first experience. But those who are used to controlling power, when it shifts, they are still in denial, and they want to behave like they still have power. And it leads into the problems we see in the coalitions. At the center of a problem is the ANC. It has been in power for too long. When it gets removed into a coalition, it is in denial. Same thing as the DA, that suffers from white supremacy. That in coalition with black people, a white person must lead. That white supremacist mentality is what causes problems for us in coalitions. But otherwise, coalitions will work. And coalitions are the best thing for me. I think we deserve that. Where no one has got an absolute majority. We all govern through consensus, and we look at what is in the best interest of our people. Because too much power corrupts. And that's what we have experienced since 1994. Business has no choice. We're the only organization that is very clear of what we want. And therefore, business in dealing with the EFF, they know what they are dealing with. Policy position is very clear. And we're happy with the response yesterday. It was overwhelming. We really enjoyed ourselves. And the kind of support we received from the South African business yesterday was really welcomed. Black, white, Indians, Africans, coloreds, all manner of business, men and women were there to support the EFF. And that's what made the rally possible tomorrow, because of the support of these business people who are not scared of the establishment. Ukraine peaceful solution is that Ukraine must not join NATO. That's the solution. So that we protect the territory. I mean, Russia doesn't feel threatened. It's as simple as that. And I sympathize with you when I like the fact that you like dialogue, and I like dialogue, we can engage about that, because NATO is not a very peaceful organization. You can't talk peace and NATO in one sentence. It's not true what you are saying. Because I agree with you that elections are coming and South Africa must play an important role. There's a problem in Zimbabwe. There's a big problem in Zimbabwe where the rights of citizens are being violated openly, and no one is saying anything about it, including South Africa. Elections get stolen daylight by the army. For sure, they have the results by now. Me and you are still talking about elections. They are done. They have the results. Those things, that's a formality. Well, it can't be correct that ZANU-PF holds the people of Zimbabwe hostage. If it means ZANU-PF must lose elections for it to go and self-correct, so be it. But let the people, the voice of the people of Zimbabwe be respected. It can't be a win-win-win at all costs. In the EFF, we believe strongly that Chamisa won the last elections. And he was undermined by violence that was unleashed on citizens of Zimbabwe. But is the sanctions solution? No. No. The Zimbabweans are suffering as we speak. You know how you negotiate the best terms as business and as countries. Zimbabwe should be open to you to go and invest there, but negotiate the best deals and conditions of such investment. No sanctions must stop you from going to invest in Zimbabwe. Zimbabweans are struggling, and the world must go and help Zimbabweans. So, ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't mean enmity. We're not enemies. We engage robustly. Our policies can be challenged the same way we challenge your policies. We are open for engagement. South Africa is open for the problem, you are right, is this foreign interests that are interfering and even sponsoring the killing of each other. We should not, as Africans, anywhere, because we are rejected, we are hated everywhere. We should not find it easy to fight with each other. It must be the most painful and the most difficult thing for an African to take up guns and shoot at another African. Because if others can do it, they will do it with ease. It must be difficult for us. We are hated everywhere in the world. We are treated like we are not human beings. Why should we treat each other like that ourselves? That's why the EFF here in South Africa is told every time that we won't vote for you because you want foreigners in our country, you protect foreigners in our country. So be it. We're not going to kill Africans in exchange for votes. I will rather stay at home in the villages because that is not just us. So we are for Africans, and Africans everywhere must always find African solution to their problems without Sasol's interference, without France's interference, without British interference. We need to sit down and find solutions of Africa by Africans and not this borrowed interference that we see all the time. So we are aware of what's happening in Mozambique, and we will make sure that the government of the EFF finds an African solution which is going to be permanent and not driven by foreign company or multinational companies' interests. We make no apology with our alliance with China, because we believe that China can help us, even with load shedding. We need a government that has got interests and that negotiate good terms and say to China, build it, operate it, and hand it over to South Africa. The Chinese will never refuse to do that. They've never refused to do that. But because we are hell-bent at our alliances with the West and America, we've missed opportunities to strengthen our own economy through fostering working relationship with countries that will not destroy us. China is not going to colonize Africa. The problem is your corrupt leaders who go to China with empty bags and come back with money. They want money and they negotiate with money in their mind. So you come to me like that, I will also dribble you. So go there with proper ideas, not with corrupt mentality. There's no China that wants to colonize anyone. How do you get colonized now when you are the negotiator? South Africa has surrendered a port now in Durban now. That's colonialism, where you just take your port and give it to other people, surrendering your sovereignty, and later you are going to say people have colonized you. When you go to China and say, give us a power station in exchange for OR Tambo Airport, why would they miss that opportunity? It's not them, it's your stupidity as leaders. There is no policy of China. We've gone through it many times that seeks to colonize anyone. But if people go there with better ideas, it's not a problem of China. It's their own problem. No socialist organization, and socialism teaches us that we can't engage in imperialist program. We can't engage in colonialist program. We intervene where necessary, and intervention does not mean interference. And that's what it inspires that relationship with countries like China and Cuba too. The Cubans, you go to them, you seek solution, they will provide it. And then they don't say, give us this, give us that. It's South Africa that says, in exchange, we'll give you this. And when we give the Cubans the money that we are giving them, when we get accused, we over-explain ourselves that which we offered to the Cubans. The money to Cuba is not necessarily to pay for the doctors. It's a solidarity fund. We're in solidarity with Cuba, and we'll double that money when we take over government. Because Cuba did not give us money. It gave us life. People died fighting for our democracy. Why should we be told by people who oppressed us that Cuba joined us to fight against how we must relate with Cuba? We cannot allow that. How do we get more energy into the grid and not about more money to me and my family? The coal power stations that were decommissioned will recommission them. Because you can't decommission a power station for green energy that gives you less than what that power station was giving you. It's illogical. We are all for green. We are all for clean energy, but not at the detriment of the economy of South Africa. We cannot destroy our base to appease USA and the UK. If the green gives me 2,000 megawatts, whatever I'm going to decommission should be giving me 2,000 megawatts or even less. So I know I decommission this one, and the alternative is this one, and therefore I don't run short of what I'm requiring to sustain the economy of South Africa and to give our people a reliable electricity. So we also are going to stop this thing of taking out our clean energy, our clean coal to outside countries and leaving us here with a dirty coal and being told we are polluting. The pollution, whether it happens in China, whether it happens in the UK, whether it happens in Germany, whether it happens in the USA, is going to affect us even here in South Africa. So why is there a story that we must not use coal in South Africa, yet we see tons, millions and millions of tons being taken out of South Africa? Where are they going? The story should not be let's decommission coal power stations. The story should be coal because it's not clean and it's not good for the environment. Let's stop mining coal at all. So no one uses coal. It can't be that South Africa must not use coal, but other people are using coal. It's wrong. So there's no coal that is going to live here. We're going to make sure that we produce enough and reliable and clean coal, and we'll engage with our own allies in the form of China and all of to come with new technology to deal with emission. So we need to make sure that that which we say other people must not do, we don't do ourselves. Because to ask of us to self-destruct and use us as an experiment in exchange for money and to killing of our people, because this load shedding has killed a lot of people here in South Africa, has killed a lot of businesses here in South Africa, and you can all feel it. Yet, we must be the first ones to be used as an experiment. You need a very firm leadership that will prioritize the interest of the country before any other thing and not sell the country to the highest bidder. The trade union was compromised. The Communist Party was compromised. The youth movement was killed. The Women's League was co-opted into the agenda of neoliberalism. South Africa at the time was characterized by a kleptocracy, where those who were aligned with the government of the day could not face prosecution for their corruption. We observed all of this and decided But we cannot sit back and allow the continuation of the deterioration of state of affairs in our country. And inspired by the Cuban 26 July movement, decided to form an organization on the 26th of July 2013 and called it the EFF.
Yeah, this is the kind of leadership we want in the continent of Africa. You know, there has been rumors, and of course people believed that Chinese is going to colonize Africa. Yes, we can say, but the problem is not the Chinese. The problem is within ourselves. What kind of contracts we are signing with China? And I like the way Malema said, there are some people who went to China with empty bag and returned with a lot of money. You know, Africans, we need to be realistic. It's we Africans who are taking our money and put in Europe. It's we Africans who, when we are sick, we run away from this continent. You see, that's the problem that we have. So we can't continue to blame the colonizers, blame others. First of all, we must blame ourselves. What is our strategy as Africans? So Malema is very fantastic, and I like the way he presented this matter on the board. And we as Africans, we need to wake up. When we go out there, we must go there with the vision of a win-win situation as a partner, not to go there to be like beggars. Of course, we can say maybe, you know, when these big power want to invest in Africa, they come up with maybe some hard conditions. But why we accept those conditions? We must refuse. So that is what I like from Malema. Apart from that, also Malema has spoken about the issue of green energy. One day I was presented this, that it's we Africans who we don't think. Just imagine, people say this is a stone, but this is not a maybe this is not a mineral, it is a stone. But someone take the same stone from you. If it is a stone, why you want to take from me? So what Malema said on the issue of coal, I like it also, because we have seen our coals taken away from us. At the same time, people saying that this coal is polluting the environment, but it is taken away from us. Look, for instance, in minerals. Africans, we are not benefiting much on our minerals because we signed a poor contracts before. It's not us, but the previous people who was in power, signed a poor contracts. And today we are coming out and lamenting that we are not benefiting from these resources. So this is a lesson for us. And also, Malema explained very well on the issue of coal. Just imagine, we have shortage of energy in the continent of Africa, and still we are exporting coals. But the same people who are taking our coal are telling us that this is not good, don't use this. If this is not good, why you are taking? That's the question. You know, Africans, we need to sometimes to ask ourselves, what's wrong with us? How can we accept such kind of words, such kinds of lies, and yet we are accepting? You know, we need to move to green energy. Yes, we want to move out of fossil energy, but all of us, we must stop using fossil energy. It is not good that those who are telling us that fossil energy is bad is the same who are using fossil energy. We are exporting tons and tons of coal, and yet in Africa we have been told that coal is not good, it's polluting. So where this coal is going? So wherever it is China, it is Russia, it is America, it is Europe, if you pollute, you pollute. It doesn't mean if the coal is used in Africa, it is the only pollution for Africa. Even if the coal is used in China, it pollutes. All of us, all the world will face the same consequence with these climatic changes. So Africans, we must not accepting these lies. And sometimes people trying to spread those lies so that they can get very easy these resources. And we Africans, we need to be careful, to wake up. You see what happened in Niger. Niger has no enough electricity now after Nigeria cutting off. But Niger has rich in uranium, but they can't use uranium to power plants, to produce energy, electricity. Instead, they are exporting uranium to France, to Europe. So charity must begin at home. So with those few words that I shared to you, because we are here as Africans to seek solutions, to share our views, ideas, so that we can build the Africa we want together with one common idea. And this is what we want as Africans. So with those few words, let me say thank you. Please let us preach peace, not forget to preach peace, because we want peace in Africa. We don't want conflict. We want Africa to have a peace so that free movement of people and goods can be achieved. Otherwise, without making sure that we have peace, this Agenda 2063 will become a dream. And until we wake up, we will see it as a dream. So with those few words, let me say thank you.